bottom corner right here, that's the book that he handed out that had the Bible stories in it. Oh, and on Thursday, well, let me back up before I hit this. On Wednesday night, we went back into the village of Nedelano, and we went to this place that they refer to as a hospice place, but it's more like to me, it was like a nursing home type environment. And we picked up this one woman that Pastor Anton knows, and she went and gathered some of the residents that are there, I guess that are her friends, and they brought them into this room, and we did a Bible, Pastor Anton did a Bible study, and I think that it was the same one that he had done on Sunday. I don't know, because it was in Bulgarian, and I'm just assuming that that's what it was. But then once we were done there, he took us to this couple's house. And mind you, these people don't have a lot of money because they're still on the lev, they're not on the euro, and their lev is only like 54 cents exchange rate to our dollar. So anything that we got double for our money. But so these people don't have a lot of money, and it's a poor country, and everybody's pretty much the same across the board. But anyway, he took us to this house, and these people didn't have a lot, but, and most houses don't have central heat and air like we have. They have wood-burning stoves, and that's how they stay warm. So these people had a room in the front of their house where they had one counter, which it reminded me of our counter at home, where I have just a little counter space, a sink, and then another little counter space and 2 cabinets. And then they had a wood-burning stove right as you walked in the door to the left, and they had labored all day long to make food for us to eat when we got there that evening. And they were so welcoming. I think there was about 7 of us that were there, but it was really neat. But anyway, this was Thursday, and we were going up the mountain to go to this school, and Pastor Anton, and how fast he drives, hit this pothole, and we ended up with a flat tire. So he was trying to fix it, and of course the fix-a-flat wasn't doing anything. So he ended up calling one of the schools that we were going to go to, and they sent the maintenance guy to come and get him. Now he left myself and Linda and Bryce all on the side of the mountain with the car. He was gone for about an hour and a half. But anyway, there's Bryce trying to get the lug nuts loose. And after that, when he came back, he wouldn't let me ride in the front seat anymore, so I had to ride in the back. But this was the view from when there was a little road that we were near. And actually, when the road curved around and did like that, and he didn't pull far from the curve. So every time a car came around that curve, we were so afraid they were going to hit the car. But thank God they didn't. But that was one of our views from there. And that was another view. And there, so you can see the curve. And then these were along the mountain as we went up the mountain and came back down the mountain. Those are like little rest areas like we have. You can have picnics and you can get fresh water. And then a little bit further down they had, if you dared to use it, squatty potties. I didn't use one. I think Linda had 2 in one of the schools that we went to, but I didn't. I'm like, no. And they don't supply toilet paper, so the kids have to bring toilet paper with them, and they don't flush toilet paper. You throw it in the garbage. There I am with the car. And that's when he came back. Okay, this school we gave out to, there was older kids in that class. But I'll tell you about those sticks that are on the side. They gave us those sticks before we left. And, of course, we had to leave them with Pastor Anton. We couldn't take them with us. because they would have never survived the plane flight home, but I'll tell you what they are. Okay, I thought I could tell you what they are. There they are. They're called Surovačkas. They're a New Year's magic wand, and it's a Bulgarian tradition. And it's called a hitting wand. It's called Surovačka. The more you hit, the more money you get. So this is one of the New Year's traditions in Bulgaria. Every New Year, the children would love to have Surovačkas. They would ask their baba, which is their the matriarch, the grandmother, and grandpa to buy them for them. And so what it is it's a stick, and they call it a magic wand, that when you hit your loved one's back, you have to sing a song, a New Year's song for prosperity, good health, and harvest. And after singing, they give money. So that's why the children want them. It says it's very interesting, isn't it? And it says that the sticks were wrapped with wool, some with baked bread, different forms of popcorns, chocolates, bells, and more. They have different colors too. And I think that the ones that we were holding, I think they had like dried orange peels and some other stuff on them. I think they had popcorn on them too, and it looked like they had some nuts and stuff. And then this class, the older girls that are sitting on that side, they had made, I have one of the trees, it's in the bag here, I can show you later, a little origami tree. There was 4 of them. They made little origami trees, and they gave each one of us one. And then the teacher had gone in the back in her cupboard and gotten each one of us a pine cone that had a little bell that they had pried open and put on the top of it so that you could hang it on your tree like an ornament. And then they gave us cards that they made also, which I have some of those. Of course, they have Bulgarian inside of them, so we aren't too sure what they said. But they were really neat because they drew pictures on them and gave them to us, colored on colored pencils and stuff. And there's the wood-burning stove. There it is. You walk into school and it's freezing cold in the halls, and you walk in the room and it's really warm because they have the wood-burning stove in there. Now, this was a lake. It started out way up the mountain. I don't remember what lake it was. But anyway, that color, is Pastor Anton told us it was there's poison in that water. So they can't, there's no fish in it, no frogs, no nothing. He said you swim in it at your own risk. But it was a beautiful color. And this was in the area on Friday after we got done with the schools, handing out shoeboxes. He went back to the house, and he has these widows in Zlatograd, in the village where he's at, that he knows. And we got food boxes to take to them, and that was up one of the roads that we went up in Zlatograd to go hand out. More cabbage, red cabbage there. And this, they had to go back to the house, Pastor Antone and Bryce, to get another box. And he left Linda and I at this lady's house that was one of the women that goes to his church. And she had a wood-burning stove. Well, she took us in and sat us down where the wood-burning stove was because it was chilly outside. And she went back in the kitchen to get something, and Linda and I both looked at each other and said, we hope she's not bringing us food, because Pastor Anton's wife was making lunch for us when we got back. But she brought us 2 glasses that had some juice in it. I don't even know what flavor it was. But anyway, she was talking in Bulgarian to us, and we didn't understand, and she didn't understand our English. So she went and woke up her grandson so that he could translate for us. And he was like, I feel funny doing this. But she was so nice. And this is in Pastor Antone's house. Him and his wife have 4 children, and they're fostering this little baby. He's one of 7 children that the mother has had, and they've all been put up for adoption. And it's unheard of for a Bulgarian woman to have more than 2 children. They just don't do it. But he's one of 7, and he said that 2 of his siblings are in the United States, and the other 4 are in Europe somewhere. But he was the sweetest baby. He fell asleep while I was holding him. And it was funny because I kept saying, I wish I could take him back with me. Well, Bryce took a picture of me holding him and sent it to Glenn. He said, she left as 1 and she's coming back as 2. And my phone never rings so fast. He's like, what? What?
Is that legal?
And this is Pastor Anton and his wife, Svetla. She made lunch for us. More cows. And this was on our way back to Greece. It was crazy how when we would get near the border, all this haze and stuff would come in. You could barely see. Okay, now I'm into where Bryce took me. I went Saturday morning with them. After we got back on Friday, he dropped us off at the hotel and then came back and got us, and we went and ate dinner at their house Friday night. And then Saturday morning, Linda stayed back at the hotel, and I'm glad she did, because she never made it through what I walked through with them Saturday morning. But we went to this place called the Old Byzantine Castle of Thessaloniki. And it was used as a prison. That was one of the solitary confinement rooms. That's what it looked like at one time. And then this tells you, in English, there's part of it, and then it tells you what all those rooms were for in English. And then these are just more of the artifacts from it that they've dug up. Cats everywhere. See the cat? There was cats everywhere. In fact, and people take care of them. They feed them and everything. They're just on street cats. But I'll tell you a quick story. There was a mama cat and 2 little babies, and I have a picture of them, but I didn't put it in this. And we were walking, and one of the kittens went to go cross the road by itself. Well, I'm there going, there's cars coming, and I'm going, no, stop, no, because I wanted the kitten to get across the street. And Linda and Bryce are sitting there laughing at me because I'm trying to save this little kitten. But he made it, and then I don't know if it was a he or she, but then the mom and the other kitten followed. That's the church that was on the Byzantine castle that we saw, that was on the property. That was the view. That's a panoramic view, by the way. And that was the view. There's water back there in the very back. It's hard to see because it was all hazy. But that was one of the views from up top. And there's another view. You can see the Orthodox Church back there. Now this is why Linda never would have made it. Those steps were like this high, all the way through. And then they had a thing that there was like 7 or 8 layers of paint. When you got up close to it, you could see the 7 or 8 layers of paint on there. And then this just tells you about different places. It's in English on one side. Okay, so going back to the Byzantine castle, I don't know how to say that word. It says the cluster of the Taparigio consists of 2 units, the Byzantine fortress and the most recent constructions of the prison, which are at the interior and the exterior of the fortress. It's situated at the northeast end of the Acropolis of Thessaloniki city walls. It consists of 10 towers, and they're in between spaces with, can't see that word, paradromus, the path running at the top of the wall. It wasn't based on one incision, but was formed in 2 parts. The north side with the 5 towers, which are alternatively square and triangular, is part of the Acropolis walls. The close defensive space of the fortress was formed with the construction of the south part, possibly around the 12th century. Briefly, the different construction phases, apart from originally possibly early Christian part of the Acropolis, are the Middle Byzantine and the Paleologian interventions. The more recent construction phase is the Ottoman, one of which is also confirmed by the inscription on the main entrance tower of the fortress. Looks like it says 1431, after the fall of Thessaloniki to the Turks. Around 1890, the use of the tapagio becomes that of a prison and marks the latest history of the monument. The men's prison was organized at the interior of the fortress together with the auxiliary buildings, the visiting area, the central guardhouse, and the church. The administration buildings, some auxiliary spaces, the women's prison, the military prison, and the isolation chambers were constructed at the exterior south side of the fortress. In 1989 and 90, the prison was transferred elsewhere, and whatever it is, was transmitted from the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Justice to the Ministry of Culture. That's about that place that I showed you before. Okay, so this is called the Gates of Anna Paleologina. Were created between 1355 and 1356 on the wall that connects the Tower of Trigonian with the Acropolis Bailey. And then there's another one. That's this. That's what that is. That went for a long way. And these are all fortress ruins that they built the city around. And then the next one is going to be the Tower of, I don't even know how to pronounce these words. It's Alisios, or Tower of Trigonio, is located at the northern end of the eastern wall of Thessaloniki and has a cylindrical shape. And I'll show you that in just a minute. And then this one is called, this was the communication between the city and the rural areas. It was facilitated through the gates that existed on the 4 sides of the walls and were locked during the night for security purpose. The gates now are just used for vehicles, they're not used for anything else. There's the gates right there. And then there's that cylindrical cylinder looking thing. And there's Bryce, and there's a further picture. I took an up close picture, but I tried to keep people out of my pictures. That's more of the fortress. And this was some dog park that we walked through. I was in some dog park. And there's graffiti everywhere. There's another Orthodox church. This was in Greece. There's another one downtown. Shelly and I, we got to the dog park, and Shelly had to get back because she had to take one of the kids to a birthday party. So we had Bryce go way back up the mountain to that fortress where the prison was. We made him walk all the way back up there, and we walked on down to the water. And this is called the White Tower. And this, I think, used to be a prison, too. You can tour it, but we didn't. Yes, this is a landmark Ottoman fortress and former prison. And you can tour it. And this was down on the water. That's Alexander the Great. And then this is it's called the Umbrellas. And it was made by some Greek sculptor, Georgius, I can't pronounce his last name, in 1997 when Thessaloniki was the European capital of culture. And it says each umbrella is about 42 feet tall and slightly tilted. That right there, Shelley told me, I don't know if anybody's watched The Amazing Race, but that was a gathering point one year during The Amazing Race. And I think that's on the Aegean Sea also. And that's just more of where I was at. There's another Orthodox church. And the graffiti. And this was called the Rotunda. It was built as a house of worship by the Romans in the early 300s, what I found online. And it's known for its mosaics. And this was the Roman Agora. It used to be part of a market. But they built a town around it. You can see all the apartments up there. And that was another tree that was downtown. And this is a fresh open air market. There's fish everywhere. And they hang the whole animal. And that was called the Palace of the Galerius. More ruins. And there's more graffiti. And then this is called the Arch of the Galerius. There's actually a bigger one on the other side, but you can see part of it up here. But I had Bryce take my picture under the part where there was nobody walking. And then this is on our flight we flew out early Sunday morning. We had an all-day flight Sunday morning. We flew from Thessaloniki into Munich, and this was on our way into Munich. And there was snow on the ground, and it was 22 degrees. And there's our plane. It had to be de-iced before we left. So that's the last picture of the feed that I have. So if anybody wants to ask any questions.
Any questions?
Does anybody have any questions? Only about shoeboxes. You can't ask me about any places that we visited. Only about shoeboxes.
What the cars? Are they American cars or European cars?
They're European cars. Go ahead, Harold. What do you want to ask?
How are Bryce and Shelley kids?
They're doing good. They're doing really good. They're still getting acclimated. But the kids are in American schools over there, so they seem to be doing okay. Is Bryce happy? He seems to be. Yeah. We spent a whole week with him. He seems to be. with, Connie, did you have a question?
I did. So what are some of the favorite items the kids get in the boxes?
It varies from child to child. I mean, the one child held up a calculator. One of the other girls was playing with one of the dolls that she got. So it just depended on what they got in their shoe boxes.
I mean, some of them seem like bigger packs of a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Like a jacket, I mean, I never feel, when I filled them